will notice from this speech that I have borrowed liberally, so nobody's going to say I plagiarized this thing. I did this specifically because Lincoln's address, the Gettysburg Address, to me is one of the most magnificent pieces of writing that I think anybody's ever done in terms of the impact and the power of what was said in as few words. It's only 3 paragraphs, you see. And so I said, let me use that kind of structure to do for my people, or an attempt to do for my people, what Lincoln sought to do for his determination to preserve the Union. And I hope you all know that that's what he was about. He wanted to preserve the Union. That's not a knock on him. That was his job. His job was not to free the slaves, right? But if he did something or said something that has some potential value application-wise for black folk, I don't mind using it. So you will detect some of the flow here coming from that, but what I have to say in the context of that flow is about you and us. 23 score years ago, our ancestors were brought forth forcibly to this hemisphere and to this continent, a strange, foreboding place, conceived in fallacy and dedicated to the proposition that the accumulation of material wealth at any and all costs would be the founders' consuming occupation. To achieve their goals and objectives, those who founded this European empire in America saw fit to conscript our African ancestors into their service. Estimates of the number of captives ripped away from their families and villages throughout Western and Central Africa range from 10 million to upwards of 100 million, depending on your source of information. Time constraints today will not allow me to describe in graphic detail the horrors that were faced by those forebears of yours and mine, not only on the forced march from their respective villages inland to the Atlantic coast, but in the stench-filled holding dungeons along Africa's west coast, and in the holes below deck on ships, as they called them, that were hardly worthy of that name because they were big boats, specifically outfitted to carry human cargo stacked like so many cords of wood. Suffice to say, our forebears did not arrive here on the Queen Mary. Throughout the intervening 460 years, descendants of Africa and their progeny have been made to suffer reprehensible pain and indignities unparalleled in the annals of human existence, other people's Holocaust notwithstanding. We meet today in a location where many such abominations against our people actually took place, the most recent of which was that travesty in the aftermath of Katrina, Danziger Bridge in particular. We meet here today to bring to a close a month-long commemoration of irrepressible efforts by our people to overcome the effects of atrocities that were committed against us. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. And even though it would be impossible for us to adequately pay respect or homage to those who have gone before us, it is absolutely imperative that we try to the best of our ability. Were it not for their sacrifices, my generation and yours would not be enjoying even the limited measure of freedom that we have come to take for granted. It is for those of us who are the beneficiaries of those sacrifices, including but not limited to lynchings, tarring and feathering, rapes, physical and sexual abuse of our helpless children, and castration, to name but a few. To be here today, dedicated to the unfinished work remaining before us, that from our own honored ancestors we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave every full measure of devotion, first, last, and in between. that you and I here highly resolve that those who have transitioned on our behalf, who died so that you and I might live, will not have done so in vain. That this once noble race of ours, collectively, will be given a new rebirth of freedom, recover our humanity, and ascend to our rightful and intended place among the constellation of nations and races in the inexorable march of humankind toward a better and more just world. The change that black people need today is from our current state of abject dependence on the gratuity and the indulgence of other races and groups to a mindset of self-respect, self-reliance, mutual aid, responsibility, and enlightened self-esteem. We must reverse the effects of that diabolical process used by our captors to convert us from the African human beings we were to the slaves that we became. We cannot expect to reverse the effects resulting from a process with anything less than an even more effective process. The process I have in mind has been given the name 1 Million Conscious Black Voters and Contributors, and I am here today mining for gold, black gold. And you are the black gold that I'm looking for. Who among you will answer my call? We are looking for the best and brightest 1 million black folk our race has produced to step up to the plate and fulfill the promise of W.E. Du Bois' talented 10. We want the intellectual equivalent of our blue chip athletes who are so aggressively sought after and recruited by the white Division I universities for their revenue-generating sports program. I am recruiting our best to serve and uplift the rest. Will you take the baton and run the next leg of our relay race of life? Our children need you. Thank you for your patience.